Alrighty, I am live. Okay. All right, greetings. Just getting finished setting up here, and we're gonna have some fun today. I hope. I have lots of things on here. I see a few people have joined in. Hi Diane, hi Wendy. Okay, let's see here. All right. Hi Mary. Okay, we're going to cover some ground here today. I am going to be doing some Labslide charms and pendants, and I had done this class several times at Bead and Button in Milwaukee, and Wendy was one of my students in the class. So I'm glad that you're watching along here, Wendy. That was a long time ago. So it's a little bit of a refresher course for you, I guess, if you haven't been doing them lately. But I hope everybody can get something out of this. It's kind of fun. Hi, Lana. So yeah, you know, the Labslide pendants are they're a lot of fun because you can do a lot of different things with them. You can capture pictures of your loved ones, your pets, your kids, your grandkids, and memorialize things with them if you want, or you can make little pendants out of really cool clip art. Lots of different things. You can even put pressed dried flowers in between the glass panes and solder around them. So there are a lot of different things that that you can do with them. You can actually even collage with them, as long as your the items that you're going to use in the collage aren't thick, because that will affect, you know, sandwiching them together. So you know, but there are lots of different things that you can do with them. So, hi Louise. So here are, I'm going to just turn the camera down a little bit. And here are a few of the things that I've done in the past that I had here to show you. You can even attach little bits, you know, little curly cues and different things to the solder if you like. This is just craft wire that I used, but that works fine. You know, you can use there. I'll get into the different materials that you can use, but craft wire is great for these, but you could use sterling if you wanted to. Let's see here. You can make them for the holidays. There are lots of different clip arts out there. Usually, well, in the past, when I was buying a lot of clip art, I got it from different shops on Etsy, and I believe that you still can get them on there. And or you can crop your, you know, take your own photos and crop them to fit the size glass that you like too. So you know, lots of possibilities. Hi Monica. Hi Chrissy. Glad you could join me this afternoon. Okay, so you saw the pictures, or the you know, the little pieces that I have here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the materials that you need to use. Clip art. Lots of clip art. These are pages that I bought off of Etsy. If you just do a search on Etsy for clip art, and even you could put, like, these are the 1 inch, you could put 1 inch clip art, or 1.5 inch clip art, or 1 by 3 clip art, and those pages should come up, and you'll see lots of different choices. So here's some like for holidays that are kind of fun. And this one on trees. That's kind of cool. The Beatles. You can do that. You can do the alphabet. You could make your initial on one side or the other. Tons of cat photos. Clip art. Tons of bird clip art, which I love. The kind of Art Nouveau stuff, I guess. Kind of period stuff, which is kind of fun. More cats. Dogs. More trees. And these are different sizes now. We went from the 1-inch size here for the 1-inch glass to the 1.5-inch size. And I've got a lot of those things just to give you an idea of all the choices that are out there. There are Christmas themes too, if you do Christmas holidays. I made, when I had my shop, I made a garland out of the 1.5-inch pieces that said Merry Christmas on them. On one side it said, you know, each letter, each tile was one letter of the word, and then on the back there were pictures. And then I hung some like chandelier charms from there and had that strung across the shop. So there are also these. I think I might have bought these when we were up in Milwaukee at the Bead and Button Show, you know, a few years ago. This is by a company called Craft Fantastic. These images, they have lots of different ones. These are a variety of sizes on this one. These are just the 1-inch on this size. Hello, Gwen. Hi, Sunny. Okay, and then there are also some cool clip art like this. Excuse me. Whoa, holy cow. So there's fun little things like this that you can also collage under there if you'd like to. And fish for the longer pendants. So I'll do one of those today too. So that covers clip art. Thank you, Sonny. I need all the blessings I can get. As far as the themes, you know, I'm sure they're out there. You probably just want to type in, you know, a search for those particular ones, hopefully, but there should be. I'm sure they've got tons. Okay, now, as far as the other materials, I will show you. I'll turn the camera down. And let's see here. Now, this is all written on the handout, so you don't have to worry about writing all this stuff down while I'm talking. All right, so let's see if I'm centered right here. Did I go the right way or the wrong way there? Okay. Okay, so you need a third hand. If you have an old crappy one, you know, with the crappy tweezers, those are great because they will get crappy after you put flux and all that stuff on there. You will need a brush. This is a brush. You can get these on Amazon, I think maybe 10 in a package or something. They're relatively cheap. They're like 40 cents a piece or something like that. And I just use them until they're really gunky and then I toss them out. Okay, so that you need a pair of junky tweezers. You need a pair of junky hemostats. Okay, you need a burnisher. This is a nylon burnisher. This is one that has had repeated use. This is a brand new one. It has a little beveled edge on each side. You could probably use, I don't know, any type of flat burnisher you might already have, an agate burnisher or something similar should work. But these again are pretty inexpensive too, maybe $1.50 if you were going to do this stuff. If you're going to get into all of this technique, you do need all these things really. And a stained glass shop will have most of these materials available. Hi Carol, hi Judy, hi Lori. We got more people, but okay. All right, so then there are a couple of things you need here. This is gel flux. This is not the same kind of flux that you would use for metalsmithing. This is a totally different animal. This is what stained glass people use. Okay, so I like a gel flux. There is also liquid flux available, but the gel is a little bit easier to work with. So you need the gel flux, and then you need flux remover, because the gel, once you solder, all that stuff gets really sticky and tacky. So you need something to take that off with, and this does a great job. Okay, then you need solder. This is different solder, again, from metalsmithing. This is what stained glass people use. This is lead-free. You want to make sure if you buy this that you're buying lead-free solder, because you don't want the lead on your skin. There is also a product out called Silver Gleam. This actually has some silver in it. And I'm looking to see if there's a percentage, but there isn't. But this stuff is really nice, but it's a lot more pricey than this. So if you are, I would recommend trying this out first, the standard lead-free solder. And then if this is something that you really like, then you might want to invest in some of the Silver Gleam. So that's another thing you need. Then you need a soldering iron. And this is my soldering iron of choice. This is a Weller 100. It's not a soldering gun, it's a soldering iron. Okay, so you have to make sure that you buy the right thing if you're going to buy one. When I had one of my classes in Milwaukee, when you teach, Beaten Button is defunct now, unfortunately, but when you apply to teach, you have to put all the tools and things that you need and that you are going to use, and you have to be as specific as possible when you're doing your application for teaching over there. And I said you need a soldering iron, not a gun, but a soldering iron, and preferably one with a temperature control already in there. And inevitably, in just about every class I taught, somebody would bring in their husband's soldering iron, this like ginormous ginormous tool, and it's like, no, that wasn't what was in the the materials list, but I had some extra ones, so we worked it out. But not everybody knows, so anyway, so the Weller 100 is a favorite of mine. This has been around for many years. The tips can be changed out if you need to. They get worn after a while. Honestly, I haven't really changed much of anything, although I haven't been doing this in a long time, but for a while there I did a lot of these, and but I have multiple irons too, so I really haven't had to change any tips, but they are available, and there are also narrower ones available too, but I like the standard one that that the tool comes with. So, and then it does not come with a holder, but you do need a holder of some sort to rest your very hot tool in when you're not using it. And then you need a wet sponge to wipe off the excess solder on there. Okay, so that's, you know, you need a fair amount of things to do this. You also need a pair of sharp, small-tipped scissors to cut your artwork. I like to use a mechanical pencil if I'm going to use a pencil to trace out sizes. Okay, and then if you buy a soldering iron, you need to buy what they call a SAL, it's S-A-L, ammoniac bar, and it's like ammonia, but ammoniac. And that is to clean when your soldering tip gets gunky, and you'll know when it gets gunky because the solder won't stick to it anymore. So you have to clean the tip. And you use a hot soldering iron and you rub this against this block and it cleans it all up, and then the solder will stick again. So it's kind of a nice, well, it's a necessity, really, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so that, now the downside is the glass. It didn't used to be that way, but it is now. When I first started doing this, there was memory glass available. It was made by Ranger, and they are a big scrapbooking company if you've not heard about them. And they still exist, and they still make tons of different products and stuff, but for whatever reason, they discontinued making the memory glass slides. So it used to come in 4 different sizes, and this is the 1x3. I hope you can see that. Here, let's see. No, that's not really any better. Well, maybe you can see it a little better just in the glare. So that's a 1x3. This is a standard Labslide, like a medical Labslide size. So you can still buy these, and I'll put some resources on the handout where you can pick them up. But, you know, you can always do a Google search and find just about anything that you need. But anyway, so I know that these are available readily still, but it's not my favorite shape. But, you know, it might be yours. Who knows? But they used to come packaged like this in this plastic box, and there was like 2 dozen of them in the packages. Then there is the 1 1/4 inch square glass, which is, you know, I'm really partial to this size. And then the little 1-inch square, which I like these a lot too. These are better for charms, you know, size-wise. So, and then there was a 2-inch square piece of glass, which was fine, but it was a little large. But I did do more collaging with the 2-inch. And they kind of make nice ornaments. You know, if you put the holiday different things in there, you can do that. And you know, it's kind of it's a different thing. It's something different to show you if you haven't seen it. And then the other thing that you need, important thing that you need, is copper foil tape, which comes like this in a roll. And sadly, mine is all over the place. I typically use 2 different sizes because of the size of the glass. For the 1.5-inch glass and the 1x3, which would be the typical Labslide, medical Labslide, I would use a 7/32 wide strip of copper foil. And if you buy copper foil, it's nice to buy the black back foil, which means this is like a tape, and when you peel it, there's black on the sticky side. And that's kind of nice because you don't notice it so much You notice the copper foil that doesn't have that, which is this, because sadly I bought the wrong roll. But the other one is, it still works though. It still works. The other, for the 1 inch, only for the 1 inch size glass, I use 1/4 inch copper foil strips, because that 1 inch glass is a little bit thicker than the other glass. So you need to have that extra little bit to cover over. And you'll understand that as I do the project. So there are quite a few little different things that you need to know about. Let me see here. Deborah, Holly, Dawn, and Rosemary, hello to you guys. We've got a nice crowd here today. Great. Okay, so those are the supplies that you need. Plus you need some window cleaner and some paper towels. And if you don't like the feel of the flux on your fingers, or when you're cleaning with the flux remover, it's kind of gooey and ooey. And if you don't like that feeling on your hands, you might want to just wear a pair of latex gloves. Okay. Okay, so, hi Becky. So I'm going to get started. If you guys have any questions along the way, feel free to post them, and I will look up from time to time and try to address those things for you. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is pick out our clip art. And I think right off the bat, I'm going to do one of these fish, because I haven't done one of those. Hi, Anne-Marie. All right, so let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to work. Is that angle all right with you guys? You see it okay? All right. I don't remember where I got these fish. I'm sure they were on Etsy, but I don't know what company it was. But I think these are pretty cool. I think I'll do this bright one right here. And for this, you want to make sure that you get all of your image that's going to be under the glass, and make sure that you've got it positioned right. You don't want to see any of the white paper on the background if you can avoid it, unless it's something that goes all right with your design. So I'm just going to do a little rough cut here just to get them off of the sheet. And you need two sides. You can have a picture on both sides. So I guess I'll do this one on the other side. All right. All right, so I'm going to just do a little rough chop. And then put my eyes on here, and then cut on the outside of the line. Well, actually, I'm cutting on the inside of the line on this one. It's kind of fun because they're reversible if you want to do it that way. A lot of times, I've done a lot of custom orders on these in the past, where people wanted them for like grandkids especially, and it would have their picture on the front and then their birth date on the back. And you can put like a colored paper on the back, and you know, I put it through my Photoshop program and typed their names out and stuff and their dates, different things like that. All right, so, and the other important thing is to make sure that you put your images in the same orientation so that you don't have, unless it doesn't matter to you. I mean, you know, of course, if you have words on it, you want it to be in the right orientation, but you know, you might want one fish up and one fish down. That really doesn't matter. I think I'll do that. All right, so then I've got those cut out, and I'm going to put a piece of glass on both sides. You want to make sure your glass is clean. That's one reason I have the window cleaner out. These slides are clean, but you want to make sure that you don't have any fingerprints on the glass that's on the inside, because once they're soldered, you're not going to get them out. Okay, so here is one little sandwich, and this is the 1x3 glass, so I need the 7/32 foil tape. I wish I would have rolled this up. Ah, I have tape everywhere. If your tape looks funky on the end like this does, I just gotta snip that off and get rid of it. And I usually leave my tape on the roll as I'm working. And I am going to start to tape around the two panels of glass. I'm going to start at the middle of the top, because that's where I'm going to put my jump ring. So there's going to be a seam there, and I want to make sure that that seam is covered by the jump ring. So I'm going to peel back a piece of the foil, and it's sticky. You want to make sure that there's no paper on the outside, you know, that's sticking out from the edge of the glass, because that will interfere with the tape sticking on there. So I'm going to put this in the middle. I want about the same, well, I'd like exactly the same amount of tape on both sides. Sometimes that's a little hard to do, so you just have to try to do the best you can. If you don't position it right, you can take it off and start over again. So once I put that seam on the top, or that first piece on the top, then I turn my piece over upside down and try to line it up so that we're even. Kind of wrap it around. And like I said, it's not always that easy to do, but you can reposition it if you need to. As long as you haven't already burnished the foil down, you can generally pick it up and move it around a little bit. Then when I get back up to the top where I started, this has come off a little bit. When I get back to where I started, then I only want the smallest overlap possible. I don't want to have more than I need, because there's something that happens when you are soldering that if you have too much overhang, instead of doing what you want it to do and lay flat, it kind of bubbles up. So you want just the smallest amount of overlap to cover that seam. So now that that's on, now I have to press down my foil, and I normally do the beginning of that with my fingers. Fingers are a good tool. All right, so I'm just going to take the glass in between my thumb and my first finger and just kind of push it down, push the foil down with my fingers. And when you get to your corners are important. When you get to your corners, I usually take my thumbnail. I don't know if you can see this or not, but I take my thumbnail and push it down on one side and then take my thumbnail on the other, and it's just like a little fold over on that corner. As long as one side is down first, and then you take your other corner and fold it down. And your corners are very important to get sealed, because, and then you turn it over and do the same thing with the four corners. You want them to be sealed really well because you're going to be applying liquid, the flux and the flux remover, to these. So you want to make sure that no moisture gets underneath that foil, because it will get on your image and it'll look like a wet spot always, and it'll never dry. So you won't be happy with that. So you really need to take good care in how you do this. All right, so now once you've done it with your fingers, then you're going to take the burnisher and on all the foil edges, you're going to just burnish this tape onto the glass using a decent pressure, but not too much that you're going to crack your glass, because that, then that's another problem. So you want to make sure that the tape is stuck, but you don't want to put brute force on the tape. So you're going to just smooth it on all the sides, turn it over, and do the same thing on the opposite side, paying good attention to those corners to get them burnished well. And then you're going to do all the outer edges as well and burnish all of that. Now I wish that we could retain this copper look, but it gets covered with the solder and changes the look entirely. Then they look silver instead of copper. And the copper foil will oxidize, so it's best to keep it in a plastic bag, like a zip bag, when you're not using it. This one is oxidized, but it'll still work, but really it should be kept air-free if you can. Okay, let me look up here at the camera for a minute. I mean at the comments for a minute. Okay, Jennifer and Sandy and Cindy, Suzanne, hello you guys. Yeah, Cindy, there's lots of cool images out there. So this guy's kind of cute. Okay, so I'll do another one. I'll do another size. I'll do a little 1-inch tile. Anyway, I was saying before about Ranger not making these tiles anymore, but I did find a couple people on Etsy that cut them and make them available, and they didn't seem too outrageous either as far as their pricing. So you might want to check that out as well. All right, now these seem to have a little schmutz on them, so I'm gonna just wipe off the glass a little bit. Hi, Kelly. Hello, Helen. Kelly, I haven't, but you certainly could do that. You know, I know, like in a lot of stained glass work, they use that patina, and I'm sure that this would be fine for that as well. But like I said a minute ago, you know, you got to be careful with the moisture. You have to be like right on top of it to dry it off, so the stuff doesn't sit around too long. Hey, Melody. Hi, Tammy. What websites? Well, you know what? I'd have to look at my notes again if I even wrote it down in my notes. But if I didn't, I will try to put that on there. Yeah, I just said to do an Etsy search. If you search on Etsy, just type in the search window, in the search box, just type in Labslide glass or pre-cut glass squares, that kind of stuff. You should be able to locate it just fine. I will try to remember to do that after we get done here. I'm a bear of little brain, so I don't always remember everything. All right, let's see. We'll pick out something with the 1 inch. Maybe one of these little birdies. They're kind of cute. And these should fit just fine. Not all artwork is exact in their sizes, but most is. All right, so let's get these little birds with the crowns are so cute. Let's do a pink one for Gwen. She's the pink girl. We'll do pink and blue. So, if anything, err on the size of too small than too big, but you want to be careful because you really don't want to see the glass around the pictures to see through it like that. Unless you're doing pressed flowers. That's a real pretty look, just having the pressed flowers in there and then the clear glass. You could also do a little piece of lace. That's totally doable to sandwich that in between the glass slides. Hi, Gina. Yeah, I am printing them on my inkjet printer, and I use matte photo paper. That is the paper that I use. All right. See, Gwen? Isn't that cute? All right. So now, since this is the thicker glass, I'm going to use the 1/4 inch copper foil tape. This one is the correct one with the black back on it. You can see when I peel it, it's black underneath. And I think it more has to do with like a reflection or something like that. So laser printer, unless it's a color laser printer, if it's, you know, that would be great. That would be great. So then we start again in the center of the top where I'm going to put my jump ring. And then I turn it upside down because I can see it better when it's upside down. I can see when I roll this over how much I have on each side. And even though it may not be like 100% accurate, it's pretty close. I taught this class at Bead and Button for several years. It was the first class I taught up there, I think in 2009, and I have sold gazillions of these in my beginning years because it was a relatively easy thing to do. They were easy to make. I could make a bunch of them. They have a low price point, so people would snap them up at art shows and stuff. And I would consider this was my bread and butter piece of work that I sold. And at that time, in 2008, I had rented a shop in town, and I initially thought that that was going to be my work studio. But after I was there for just a short while, I realized I wasn't going to pay the rent just by doing what I was doing for myself. So I started holding classes and getting other people to come in and teach as well. I put an ad in Bead and Button magazine as a store, and people started coming in from different areas and finding me. And anyway, long story short, a lot of these paid the rent many times, by making these and selling them. So people always want to buy a little something, and sometimes they just can't afford some of your bigger ticket items, but they want to walk away with something, or maybe for the kids or whatever. And these were always something that sold. And then there were always people say, well, do you have this or do you have that, as far as people, clip art, that kind of thing. And then if I didn't have it, then I'd remember to make some, and then at the next show I would have a better selection. All right, so I'm burnishing. I guess I folded that all down without thinking about showing you. I was just doing it. Just an automatic response. But back to Bead and Button, I think it was the second year. Wendy, if you're still here, I don't know if you were in this class or not, but Milwaukee's like 2.25 hours away from where I live. We're just on the other side of Chicago, on the Indiana side. So it's about 2.25 hours to Milwaukee. And I was teaching this class up there, and I had like 20 students or something, and got everything, I had all my boxes and all my stuff, and I was getting ready to set up, and I realized I left all the clip art at home. I had everything else but the clip art. And my heart just froze. I was like, oh my God, I've got all these people who paid for this class. It was just sheer panic, I thought, oh my God, if I ever came close to crapping in my pants, it was that moment. And thank God my husband was off work that day, and I called him so pathetic. I said, please go to my shop. I must have left one of the boxes under a table or something. I didn't see it. And I said, please go to my shop and drive to Milwaukee and bring me this clip art. I have all these women here that are going to be here in just a little while. And we got nothing to work on. Let me tell you, he did it, but he was pissed. He was so pissed. That's not the way he wanted to spend his day, driving to Milwaukee, dropping off a box, and driving back home. He was not pleased. But I'll tell you, we had a full class, and people were already getting there, and I didn't know what to do. I tried to keep them busy doing other things, and I told them that they would have some bonus pendants coming and all this stuff for their patients, and it was probably one of my most humiliating moments in my life. Needless to say, when Al showed up, you know, because I had told the students what had happened and his name was Al and all this stuff, and he comes toting in this box and everybody was cheering for Al. He's wondering what the hell's going on here. But I owed him big time. I gotta say, I owed him big time. But it was a funny thing to remember, but at the time it was not funny. I was really embarrassed, to say the least. Here you get this opportunity to teach at a great venue, and you know, and I blew it. So Wendy, you said you don't think it was 2009. I don't know, but were you there for the great clip art fiasco? I don't know, but it was not a good moment. All right, so back to the work. All right, so I burnished this all the way around and make sure that get those corners real good. All around the glass, you want to seal that as well as possible. Okay, so I've got two pieces. I'll do, let's see. I'll do one more just for the heck of it. I'll do one of the medium sizes. Yeah, Nancy, that's a story for the books. I'll tell you, that is that's something else. I don't know what I would have done if Al hadn't been off work that day. Honestly, I don't know. But it probably would have been the last time I taught at bead and button. Oh, God. All right, so I've cleaned my two pieces of glass. And I'm going back to the 7/32 tape. Oh, I haven't picked out my artwork yet. Silly me. All right, what do we do? Let's do a Halloween one. Why not? All right. So many choices. A Merry Halloween, I like that. Doing my rough cut here. The hardest part in doing this as a class is picking out your artwork. That is where everybody, you know, you want to get a good stuff, and you know, there's a lot of choices, and I would always say, you know, every time I'm watching people go through all the papers, it's like, you know, maybe I should have not brought so much and gave them very few choices, and that would have been the end of it. But you know, I like choice, so oh my. Well, I think I'm going to go for this pumpkin head. Yeah, matte photo paper. That is the paper to buy. The shiny paper, let me note, the shiny paper does not work. What happens to the shiny paper if you use regular photo paper, the glossy photo paper, it will, once you put the heat on it from the soldering iron, it makes it look like there's condensation inside the glass. and that doesn't go away either. So that's not good. So always remember to buy matte photo paper. And the photo paper has a nice weight to it as well. And it's great when you are doing photos of people or dogs or cats or whatever. Make sure that your artwork is in the right orientation before you close it up. So that's going to be kind of cute. A Merry Halloween. And this guy. All right, so I'll get my foil. I boogered this up, so I'm going to cut that off. Yeah, Mary, your own artwork. Absolutely. If you can draw or paint or whatever. Well, I don't know about paint, but if you can draw anything that had moisture in it, I don't know if it's a good bet or not, but colored pencil or something like that should be fine. Yeah, if you have artistic abilities, definitely you could do that. Good point, Mary. All right. A lot of people in the classes were always nervous using the soldering irons because, and for good reason, because they are very hot and you can hurt yourself. You can burn yourself, and as we know, burns don't feel good. So you have to be very careful. You should work on a heat-proof surface, ceramic tile, something like that. You should always work on something like that you're not going to hurt anything. So I'm folding this tape over with my fingers. On all four sides. Then I'm folding the corners over. Kind of like a gift wrap, but maybe not quite so fancy. Just kind of folding that corner over. Same on the reverse side. All right, so once I have those corners done, actually what I'm going to do next is I'm going to plug in my iron while I'm thinking about it. The irons, unfortunately, don't have a on-off switch, not that I know of anyway. So you have to plug them in and unplug them yourself. And they don't generally take very long to heat up. You know, I was going to show you too, and I forgot. There is also decorative, like fancy copper foil tape. This one has the scallops on here. You can even take a wider plain copper foil, and you can take those decorative scissors with the different edges on them, and you can cut your own fancy schmancy design on there too, if you wanted to do that. That's another option, another decorative choice. And then we'll get to soldering. But seriously, what I was saying before about the soldering irons, you know, and their heat and their potential for burns or whatever. You know, you have to be careful. But I witnessed so many people that had never used anything with fire or heat, intense heat like that, and they were petrified. And once they were done with this class, they were like, oh, piece of cake. You know, they felt more empowered that they were able to use a tool like that, which I think is pretty cool. All right. Okay, so now we are going to get ready to solder. And I like to use an empty box. This is just an empty box from the glass slides, but you could probably use any kind of thing just for a prop. I'm going to get, well, I didn't get a container. Hang on just 1 second. Oh, little cup here. All right, so I'm going to pour out a little bit of gel flux. A little bit goes a long way. Oh, I don't need this yet. I'm just going to pour out the gel flux. I have my flux brush. I have my hemostats, my tweezers. I have a length of solder already cut off. This solder is really bendy. It's just totally different than the other stuff. Okay, now I'm gonna, well, this is heating up. It's actually probably ready, but I'm gonna just look back for questions. Okay, let's see here. A new rabbit hole, Patty. Yep, they're always. And I will always assist you down that rabbit hole because I'm bad. All right. Lori's asking what ballpark what would you charge? Honestly, you know, it really depends, but usually for something like this, $10 or $12, and usually 15 for the other ones. And that's why they sell, because, you know, they're not expensive. So, you know, that's what I would recommend. But, you know, you can, I mean, this was a while back, so, you know, maybe people would pay more for them now. I don't know. Yeah, let's see. What printer do I have? I have a HP Office Jet Pro or something like that. It's just a standard cheap printer, you know, maybe 150 bucks. Yeah, the Halloween, Melody, the Halloween art is very fun, very cool. Lots of like vintage looks. Very cool. Diane says she took a class a few years ago and the teacher was from out of state. She left the class kits at home. We were using copper sheet. Oh my. She had to run out to a hardware store at lunchtime to get some. Fortunately, she brought her own stash. Yeah, I mean, once you're in a situation like that, especially in a town that you're not familiar with or whatever, and a lot of the stuff that we use isn't found locally, so that that can be a real nightmare. Yep. The Halloween cats are the best, Suzanne. I just think they are the best. Monica says, unfortunately, we don't get shows like Beaten Button in the southern states for some reason. The large shows are in the northern states, often PA. That's pretty true. And I don't know why. I don't know why. That kind of stinks. Of course, with COVID and everything right now, that's changed so many things. It's killed a lot of businesses and, uh, a lot of venues where large amounts of people go to too. So hopefully that'll all come back. Oh, Patty. She was halfway to Phoenix for a one-time show without her heat press for the t-shirts. That would be very bad. Yeah, good husband. You have a good husband too. No, Jimmy, with the beetle stuff, if it's clip art that is being sold, uh, that's on their end. It's not on my end. So if they're able to sell that, as far as I know, that's not an issue. So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, but um, there was nothing on the websites about any kind of license or anything like that. And that's what they were selling, they were downloading. It was on Etsy. I would think, that would be a no-no if it wasn't allowed. How long does it take for the soldering iron to preheat? Really, maybe 5 minutes. It's not long at all. I'm just trying to check up on any questions. Oh, a stamp, Kelly. That's a great idea. I'll have to try that. Yeah, that would be cool because there's a lot of cool stamps out there. Yeah. Yeah, any lead free, Home Depot, wherever, it's fine as long as it says lead free. Then it's fine. But like if you really get into this, you might want to try the silver gleam, the one that has the solder. You get less and you pay more, but a lot of times it's very true. You get what you pay for. All right, so let's get set up here. For starters, all I need is my crappy tweezers, my flux brush, and I'm only going to flux one piece at a time because I don't want them sitting in flux very long. So I'm just put some on my brush. You want to make sure you cover every bit of the copper foil. The flux is going to get on the glass. That's okay. It's impossible to do this without making a mess. All of that's going to clean up. But if you don't have flux, the solder won't stick. It's as simple as that. No sticky, no flux, no sticky. All right, so then I have a length of solder right here. My soldering iron is hot, and I'm going to wipe it off because it turns a little bit dark from the heat, and I'm just going to, there's a beveled edge on this soldering iron, so I'm just going to press down, and I hope you can see this okay. I'm just going to press down on that beveled edge, and a little piece of solder already melted off, okay? So I'm going to use my tweezers as my fingers on the left side, and I'm just going to take that little bit of solder that I just had on there and run a little line of solder all the way around it. And I'm going to turn this over and continue to add this first layer of solder. You don't want to stay on the piece real long because your tape can actually burn if you stay on too long. All right, so now I want to make sure I go over the sides, edges. Just give it a swipe all the way around and cover all that solder, all that copper tape. Okay, so now I'm going to put my soldering iron in the holster. Always, always, always put your soldering iron back in the holster. Don't lay it down on your tile, because inevitably you're going to not be paying attention and you're going to pick up the soldering iron and burn yourself bad. So you want to make sure that you just know that that has to, when if it's not in your hand, it's got to be in the holder. Okay, can you see that okay? I don't know if you can or not. All right, you got everything in the view, I hope. Maybe not. Okay, maybe I need to bring this up on the tile a little bit just to get everything in the frame. Okay, so now I went all the way around all of the copper foil with the solder, and now I'm going to put a little more flux on my foil, because without the flux the solder won't flow. And you'll know that by trying to get that solder to move, and it just doesn't. So now what I'm going to do is what I call the press and lift, to get a nice seam on each side. Okay, so I'm grabbing some solder and I'm going press and lift. And I need more solder, or more flux. If it doesn't come up smooth, see how there's caca all over here? You want to get that off. You know, wipe that off with your sponge and then put a little more flux on there. I don't know if I even got any on there. Okay, put a little more flux on there, and then you start at one side, press and up, press and up, press and up, press and up, all the way across. Don't slide it or glide it. You want to go straight down, straight up, and over, straight up, or straight down and straight up, straight down and straight up, all the way across. It only takes a couple of seconds for it to glaze over and cool. So that way you can turn without having your solder roll. Okay, so now I'm going to put a little more solder here, or flux there. Grab a little more solder and press and lift, press and lift, press and lift. That way it's nice and liquid, and flux is your friend. Always remember that, especially when you're doing this. You have to have enough flux to have the right steady flow. No, it won't leave lumps if you have enough flux. Enough flux with this heat is all you need. Okay. See how that is lumpy right there? Apply a little more flux. Lumps are gone. Okay. Now this isn't going to be a perfect frame like it would be in metalwork. You know, that's different. This is a whole different thing. And you know, some people like it kind of rustic, whatever you want to call it. It's not exactly my thing, but some people like it like that. And some people get into the more decorative borders. You can put like balls of solder on there. I was never great at that, but there are some people that do some marvelous, marvelous things. Okay, so now I'm going to put my jump ring on. And for that, that's what I need the third hand for. I'm going to hold my piece. Now this piece is hot. You got to remember that. But I'm going to keep my piece balanced on this little box. And then I'm going to take my jump ring. And honestly, I just use craft wire to make these jump rings. But you can use silver ones. I would say silver is your better choice because these will tarnish, and after you clean them so many times, you know, you can start to see the copper through them. So if you just put sterling rings on, you're better off from the beginning. All right, so I'm going to flux. So I put my jump ring in with the split at the very bottom here. The split of the jump ring is what I want to sink into the solder, okay? And by having this in the hemostat, it allows me to hold on to it steady and place the jump ring properly. So I'm going to grab some solder. Did I reflux this? I don't remember if I did or not. Let's see. I'll reflux that. All right. So I'm going to eyeball the center, and I'm going to heat both sides of the sides of the jump ring, and hopefully you can see this. You can actually feel the jump ring kind of sink down into the solder when it's placed. And just hold on to that for a second. It's on, but it's a little bit lumpy here. So I want to fix that. Clean off my iron. Okay. So then what I normally do is remove the third hand, and then I look at the jump ring kind of at different angles to see if it's on centered right. Okay, and it is, so I'm going to leave that alone. So this is hot, and in a few minutes it will be cool enough that I can get all that schmutz off of there. Okay, so I'm going to go on to the fish. You see how simple that is? It truly is. But the key to all of these things that I show you guys is that you got to have the stuff. If you don't have the stuff, it makes things a lot harder. And yeah, it's expensive in the initial stages, but you know, it will pay itself back if you sell your pieces in no time, really. That's always how I've based what I do. It's like stuff has to pay for itself for me to justify the expense. And when it does, when it pays me back for, you know, the initial output, then I can move on to something else. And so it never ends. But that's a good thing, at least for my mental health. You see how easily that glides on there when you have the solder? Or when you have the flux on there, right? And you don't need a ton of solder. You can build it up a little bit more if you like the frame to be a little bit thicker. There's nothing wrong with that. But make sure you get that initial coat on all the copper, and then you can move on to building it up. And wipe off your soldering iron often and flux often. If you can tell, the tile that I'm working on is all full of flux, but you know, that's okay. I'm going to press and lift, 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 press and lift. And I'm not pressing hard, I'm just kind of dabbing it, just enough for the heat to melt the solder. You can't just skim over it. You have to let it get hot and then press and lift. Oh, I already did that side. Duh. Okay. If you put too much on, you can also kind of pick it up and it'll be on your soldering iron. You can just wipe that off. All right. And you have to be careful too, I'm going to make notice of not squeezing your glass too hard with your tweezers, because you can crack the glass. So I'm going to set this up, make sure that he's even. There we go. And get my jump ring. I'll solder this jump ring on and then I'll answer any questions if there's anything there. I put my jump ring with the split facing towards the ceiling for right now, and then when I turn it over, it will be right where it needs to be to put into the, oh, one of my hairs. We don't want that in there. Grab a little more solder. Okay. And heat on either side. If you stay on too long, you seriously will burn this tape and kind of ruin your design, or ruin your piece. Sometimes trying to perfect something, you know, makes you overwork it, and then, you know, then that's bad. Okay, so that's on. And see how gooey they get? They get really gooey. All right, so I'm going to let that cool a second, and then let me just check. for any questions. Sonny, I think that it's better. I don't know. It's more precise, I think, using a hemostat. They're I don't know. They're only a couple of bucks. You can find them online pretty easily. It's worth it. It's worth it to have it. Melody says, "Have you seen where they do decorating balling around the edges? Have you done this?" I have tried it. And it's okay, but you have to have a smaller tip on your soldering iron to do the balls. But yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I have a few books to recommend too. That'll be in the handout. So there's no need to solder the front and back edges. No, everything is soldered, Nancy. It's soldered all the way around. Front and back, all the edges. Let me get this one cleaned up here. So I'm taking some flux remover on a paper towel, and I'm going to clean up the little kitty. And another thing that's kind of cool with these is if you decide you want a bigger border later on or whatever, or you want to add something to it, if you want to attach a little curlicue to it or a spiral or something like that, you can always reheat these. There's no time limit on it. It's like enameling. You can always redo a piece if you want to. So that's kind of fun and cool that you can do that. You can also, like if you want to do holidays, you could put one holiday on the front and one holiday on the back, so that way it serves double duty if you want to do that. But you always have to take into consideration, what you're putting in between your layers of glass, the thickness of it, to determine what size copper foil you're going to need to use it. Because you need to have a border, at least 1/8 of an inch border. And then you don't want too much of a border either, to cover up your artwork. But sometimes if you're just a teeny bit short on the artwork, if it doesn't quite reach to the end of the glass, you know that you're going to have a little bit of this solder border that's going to cover that up. So even when the flux gets all crusty like it did on here, if you just keep at it and clean it, maybe with your thumbnail a little bit, you can get all those little bits off. And if you saw that you did not such a great job, that's the other point of, being able to resolder, as long as you flux it real well. And if you have an imperfection, say with your foil, say you weren't real precise with your overlap and you have a little bit of copper foil that doesn't quite match up or is even, you can take a craft knife very carefully and just kind of slice that overhang off. All right, and so then I'm going to take a piece of 4/0 steel wool and just polish this up a little bit. There seems to be, with the lead-free solder, there seems to be what is known as a haze mark, which looks like just a little patch of frosty looking on the solder. And I tried to Google and find out, if it was just me or, what was the cause of that. And from what I understood, it was basically the nature of the lead-free solder that the leaded solder did not do that. So it's just something that I guess comes with using the lead-free, but I'd rather have that and have it be safe on my skin. But generally the steel wool will burnish that off or polish that off. So here's the little kitty. The next step I would do is put a little window cleaner on a paper towel and then just, wipe this up so it's nice and clean. So he's kind of cute, isn't he? And then typically what I do when I sell these is I put them on a ball chain. It's just a base metal ball chain that I have a big roll of, and I, put them on. I ask everybody what length they want, so that way, because people don't all come in the same size, and, to make them all 18 inches or all 20 inches, whatever, is not good for everybody. Kids need a little shorter, bigger people need larger, so that's kind of a nice feature when you sell, that you can customize the chain. All right, let me see if there's any other questions. Yeah, Lori, these always sell well. They always do. This is just one of those things, I mean, it's not everybody's cup of tea, okay? But I think they're real cute, and they have their usefulness. They're kind of whimsical, which is, what I like about them. And they make nice little gifts. Okay, so let's see here. Do I buff the edges with the liquid polishing wax that sometimes is used on stained glass? You could, Kelly, you could do that. Anything that you could do in stained glass, you should be able to do to these. The only thing that I said before is to try to not get much liquid under there, because even though this tape is on there, it's not watertight, so that's the other thing. It amazes me to find out how people wear their jewelry, that they wear them in the shower and all this stuff, and it's like, no, this is not good for this kind of stuff. So just make sure you tell your customers that not to do that kind of stuff, because it ruins a lot of stuff. So let me just finish up with this last little one, and I'll clean up the other one, and then we'll call it a day. I have to flux this guy first. But I would suggest, if there's a particular size of glass that you like, to contact the Etsy seller that does cut these squares of glass, and see if they will make up a bunch for you. But I would get no less than a dozen or more, 2 dozen maybe, because inevitably you're going to break something, and it takes 2 pieces of glass for each pendant, so you want to make sure that you have enough stuff. All right, so remember to always use your tweezers to hold on to your piece and move it around, and move it to the edge. I'm going on the back and just skimming across. Now I'm going to skim across the sides, or the edges, I should say. when I skimmed across that side, a big bubble dripped down here, which is no big deal, but that's what happens when you skim like that, when you have too much solder. Now, get a little more flux. I just can't understand why Ranger doesn't sell these anymore. I mean, people still really like them. And that was a very economical way to buy the glass. Maybe it wasn't a economical thing for them. Maybe it wasn't a big money maker for them. That's usually why they take things off the market. But it sure would be nice to have them make a comeback. Anytime that you see that solder not lay flat and shiny, you need to put more flux. I like how the 1-inch pieces of glass, they seem to form a nicer border than the thinner glass, but you know, that's just a preference. All right, so I'm going to set this guy up for his jump ring. But see, they're relatively quick. You can knock off a lot of these in a short amount of time. Get back there. Okay. Now, get my jump ring on here. Split side to the ceiling. Turn it upside down. And you also need to have good ventilation, people. When you're doing this, you should have a fan blowing or a fume trap. That would be wise to have something like that. Because, you know, I don't know if these fumes are harmful. There's no lead in them, so that's a good thing. But to me, fumes are fumes. You know, it's like, I don't know that that's a good thing to be breathing it. So having good ventilation is pretty darn important. Have a fan going, window open, or a fume trap, or some kind of exhaust. Okay, so that's on there. Let's clean up the fish. I think Mr. Fish is going to be a favorite of mine. And you can, you know, if you have computer skills that you can resize some of this artwork, that would be great. You know, so that you can make it into different sizes. Like I said, I'm not a real fan of the long pieces, but that's just me. You know, that you know, you might really like it, or somebody else might really like it. So, you know, I don't want to say, you know, don't go for that, but if you can resize and you want to resize, that would be cool if you could do that. I would say that these are probably not a good idea for like keychains and stuff. Maybe the 1-inch because it's thicker glass, but you know, because some people have asked me, you know, can you do this for keychains? And it's like, you know, anything with glass, I'm kind of hesitant. But I haven't heard any horror stories about them, but I don't always hear everything either. Get all the little crusties off of there. Like I said, you could wear gloves if you didn't like this on your skin. You might even be able to flick a little bit of that off. But he is just darn cute. So I put one going down and one going up on this one. But you know, normally you want to make sure, you know, the jump ring side is up, that you have everything aligned the way you want it to hang. Or don't put your words upside down on the reverse side if you're putting a name or date or something like that on there. I'm gonna unplug my soldering iron right now while I'm thinking about it. But yeah, any stained glass shop should have the flux and the flux remover. I'm just particular to the classic gel flux is the brand, and the CJ's flux remover. I like those a lot. I know Amazon carries a lot of products, a lot more than they used to, for all different kinds of crafts and stuff, so you might even be able to find that on Amazon. But yeah, and you know, you don't find as many local stained glass shops anymore either. They're become a thing of, not of the past. I mean, they do exist, and I'm glad that they do. But you just don't find them around very much. Maybe in the really big cities you might still find some. All right, so let me just get some of this off my hands. A nice thing to have too when you're working on stuff like this is like baby wipes or something, so you can wipe off your fingers, so you don't get sticky all over everything. But I'm gonna just put a spritz of window cleaner on my pieces. This is the last step. You're welcome, Carol. You took this at my shop in Griffith many moons ago when I had my shop. All right, so this is what we did today. You see those okay? Get my iron out of here. I think they came out really cute. Now, like I said earlier, they will oxidize or tarnish over time. So you will need to clean them up with the 4O, which is the very finest steel wool, or you could use a pro polish pad if you have those available. Those are nice, and clean them up from time to time. You know, so there you have it. I don't know. I just think they're really cute, and they have lots of possibilities. So, any other questions? Old Christmas cards, gift tags, those are all great ideas, Lori. There's lots of things, sentimental pieces like that in cards and different things that you can definitely use those. So you know, like I've said before, you're only limited by your imagination. You know, there's lots of possibilities out there. Good, Wendy, you've got everything. See, now you need to start making some and start posting them and giving everybody encouragement. The pressure's on you now. So, no, I hope you guys enjoy this stuff. You know, what is this called? What is this technique called, Sonny? I am calling it Labslide Pendants and Charms, but it's basically soldering like you would solder stained glass. In stained glass, you use the glass and you have to use the flux remover, and the copper foil. The same tools, the soldering iron, and the lead-free solder. And you know, when I taught this at Bead and Button, I called it Photo Pendants Under Glass. That was the name of the class. And you know, I just changed it to Labslide Pendants and Charms for us. So anyway, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope if it interests you that you might give it a shot. And as always, post your stuff on the website or on the group page, so it helps give encouragement to other people if they want to try different things. Next week, I am going to do a metal clay project. I am going to do what's called a pasted leaf. Let me get that for you here. I am going to do this. Let me turn this down here. These right here are geranium leaves. They were made with real geranium leaves that you put silver clay paste on in multiple layers. There's probably 10 layers of paste, silver clay paste on here. And this is also a leaf. I don't know, I wish I would have remembered what tree or bush. I think this was a bush, maybe a raspberry leaf or something. And I really like this one a lot too. The thing with geranium leaves is they're usually available. You know, if you have them in the summer, or sometimes people keep them around year round in their house. You pick a small leaf. You don't want anything huge because it takes a fair amount of silver clay to get these made. And sometimes, at least with the geranium, sometimes there'll be like a little hole where the two leaves kind of meet together at the stem, which was the case in this geranium. And so I put a little crystal in here. But I think what I'm going to do next week, because you have to dry, there's like 10 layers of metal clay paste that you have to put on the leaf. And they have to dry, each layer has to dry thoroughly before you apply the next layer. So it's going to take time to go through the demo with the different layers. So I think while each layer is drying, I'll put my dehydrator on the table by me. And then I think what I'll do is, with one of these other ones that I've already made, I will solder a tube setting on here and set tube settings on here, and kind of kill the time that we're waiting. So I'm thinking that's, well, I know that that's what I'm planning for next week, bar any calamities that may come up. But that's what my intention is for next week, and we can go from there. But in the meantime, uh, you can see what kind of leaves you may have around your property. It's different stages of growth around the country, so I don't know what you might have available right now, but you can always buy a little geranium plant if you wanted to, if you had nothing else, and do one of the leaves. But if you wanted to follow along, I don't know if you could on this one or not, because I just contacted Art Clay World a few days ago to check on their clay. They sell little jars of art clay silver paste, and they come in 10 grams and 20 grams, and it takes the entire 10 grams to do one leaf. So I wanted to get a few bottles, but they were out. She did find one 10-gram jar for me, but she also said you could reconstitute your clay and make a paste from that. So I might do that along with the demo, because I have a little bit of clay paste. I have a little bit of clay paste in reserve, and I'll see if I can make my own paste. I would assume that it's just looser or wetter than when you're making the reconstituted silver clay. So I think I'll try to do that in the spaces where each layer is drying. I mean, that's the best that I can think of. But these ideas are getting harder to come up with, as we do this. I mean, this is like, I don't know, almost 40 weeks that I've been doing this. So it's like this brain only has so many ideas. So I'm going to try to alternate between some regular copper metal silver clay and some bead weaving kind of things, and hopefully we can find something to fill this 2:30 spot every Wednesday, because I like doing it. Gwen, can you make your own paste? Yeah, I was just saying, I think we can. I think we can. And I know you use PMC, I think. And really, the formulations are probably just about the same, and if you've got dried clay, you should be able to make it. I would just make it wetter, than we would if we wanted, because we're not going to roll this stuff out. This is going to be brushed on with a paintbrush. So actually, it's not brushed on, it's dabbed on. So, and I'll explain all of that as we go. But yeah, I mean, if you've got some dried clay that you want to put through your coffee grinder or whatever, not your good coffee grinder, God forbid. But, if you have a dedicated coffee grinder for that, you could do that. But it has to be absolutely free of any chunks, any little hard bits. It has to be very fine. So you'll have to put it through a fine mesh screen, maybe like an enamel sifter, and make sure that it's very fine. The first two layers of the leaf is crucial to be very, very smooth and lump free. So, but we'll go over all of that on there. So, okay, guys, that's enough of my yapping for today. And gosh, almost 2 hours. Where does the time go? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Please post your projects on the group page. I always enjoy seeing them. They don't have to be everything that I do, and they don't necessarily have to be jewelry. Just creative stuff. Yeah, I don't necessarily want to see socks that your grandma made or something like that. But I mean, stuff that you made. Like if you make bags or anything, anything creative, just to inspire all of us, because we all get down in the dumps, we all get stagnant for ideas of things to do. And if any of you are remotely like me, you have to keep doing something creative to keep going. It helps you get by all the crap that you have to do in your life that you have to do, and this is stuff you want to do, and you get enjoyment from it. So with that said, I'll say goodbye. See you guys on the group. Have a great rest of your week, and thanks for watching and being with me. Take care. Bye bye.